Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something very cool to take a look at, and it's not actually technically a dinosaur, it's just a giant monster, but I like to dabble in giant monsters all the time because being a dinosaur fan, of course I am a fan of giant monsters, Kaiju as well, so we've got one really cool one, and not only one really cool one, one really obscure one, and it's a Kaiju that I never in a million years would have expected there to be a model made of, but boy am I excited that there is, because we've got ourselves a Yongary, and this is actually created by DopePope. Now if you are unfamiliar with DopePope, he is an incredibly talented sculptor, and he has actually done some work with Titanic Creations. If you have ever heard of them, they create some insanely cool Kaiju action figures, and they actually have like 4 or 5 of them, I think, and DopePope, I believe, has worked on potentially all of them and is actually still currently working on more models with them to this day. But I've only recently found out about DopePope, and instantly am I ever blown away. Not only is this an insanely beautiful sculpt, super accurate to the film, but he also has, again, some other Kaiju and stuff, as well as a Last Dinosaur T-Rex that he actually has sculpted out, which I am aching to get my hands on and add to my collection, but of course review for you guys as well. But this, again, is a very cool, very obscure Kaiju film. It's actually a South Korean Kaiju film. It was a South Korean-Japanese co-production and was kind of like a film released, I believe, in 1967, I'm pretty sure it was. And it was like the South Koreans' attempt at kind of creating their own Godzilla-type monster. And it was a pretty cheesy movie, but I love it. I grew up loving it. Of course, it was the type of film that you would have seen on one of those late night, monster broadcasts that were always on TV when I was a kid, and that's where I kind of fell in love with Yongary, and it continued through as an adult. It's one of those monsters that is just so obscure, like I would have never expected there to actually be a model created of it, so the fact that DopePope has created one is insanely cool. Of course, as you can see, this is unpainted, so we're going to get this painted about halfway through the review, but I figured we'll take a closer look at it first, and then we'll go ahead and get it painted after that. So let's go ahead and jump straight to that closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Yongary, look at how incredible the skin texture looks in this. Like, I honestly feel like this model looks better than the actual suit that was used in the film, especially as far as being more of a living creature, but he has absolutely sculpted this out to the max. If we can get a nice focus here on it. Again, the detailing is insane. You can see we've got all of the teeth sculpted out quite beautifully. Very nice looking tongue sculpt in there. You can also see the area back there where our fire would be coming from, as of course our Yongary did in fact include that ability in the films, and you can again see how nice the teeth look. I love that they all genuinely look sharp, which is also very nice to see. You've got that horn there on the snout as well, which is beautifully sculpted. Yet again, the detailing, the skin texture, everything looks phenomenal over here. You can see that almost kind of like a, again, Godzilla type look running down the back here along the spinal column of our Yongary, obviously. Oh wow, look at how nice the detailing is up here. That is gorgeous. I can't wait to add some paint application to this. I just feel like this thing is going to spring to life with a little bit of color added to it. And as we move down, you can see the very nice kind of heavily armored type of a look to the scale detail, the skin texture along the back of our Yongary. And even here in these plates, you can see how gorgeous the detailing is. There is not a single area that would look muted in any way as far as the detail goes. Like every ounce of this figure, wow, I'm losing focus on it. Every ounce of this figure is just insane when it comes to the detailing. I'm actually so much more hyped to potentially get my hands on his Last Dinosaur at some point now after looking just briefly at this. You can see the detailing here on the underside of our Yongary as well looks fantastic. Look at how insanely lifelike and realistic this sculpt and detail is. Again, this figure was just taken out of the box. I've done nothing with it quite yet, so this is exactly how it arrived to me. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is that DopePope only sells the files, the STL files, so that you can get the files to have this printed. So you would have to have it printed if you have your own printer or have somebody do it for you to actually get this model, again, in hand. But This thing is insanely beautiful. Look at the detailing here, actually. Right here along the undersides of the arms. Not only can you see the skin texture looks phenomenal, but you can actually see kind of like movement in the arm and the muscle definition and everything moving down into the hands. The palms of the hands are even super highly detailed. Like you can see creasing in the skin there in the palms of the hands. The nails look great as far as their sculpts go. The fingers as well. Same deal over here. I love that the arms are kind of held out in a somewhat menacing type of an appearance. You can see the muscle definition and everything from up here up above. The arm sculpt looks fantastic from this side as well. The knuckles and everything are nicely highlighted in the sculpt. As you continue to move down and move along, look at the detailing throughout. Like, that is honestly breathtaking. I don't know if it could get any better than this, which is really awesome to be able to get a Yongary, and not only a Yongary, but the best Yongary that I'll probably ever see. If anybody ever actually, takes a chance on making one, I don't see them ever getting even close to dethroning this DopePope version. You can see as we move down the course of the leg, the skin texture looks insane. You've got all sorts of cracks and crevices and all kinds of incredible detailing throughout. As you move down, you've got that really nice foot sculpt. You can see each and every toe is sculpted out beautifully, very nicely sculpted out nails. Man, I am so impressed with this. I cannot wait to get some paint on this. And as you move down the course of the tail, you can even see like some tensing in the tail and everything. Some more incredible skin texture as you move out. And you can see the tail comes down and goes back up, like bends back up in traditional old school movie monster style. And as you see, you again have that really nice looking texturing to the skin of the underside of the tail, as well as those plates running along the back of the tail, well, the top of the tail, along the spinal column. And again, really nice skin texture. You can see like wrinkling and creasing and stuff as you move out the length of the tail. And as you lead out here, you've got a few spikes out here at the end, almost Stegosaurus-like, but obviously much smaller. And again, really vibrant, absolutely gorgeous detailing through the entire figure. This is a phenomenal model. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead, get it painted, and we'll check it out from there. So here is our Yongary, and our fully finished, fully painted Yongary, and it looks super nice once you actually add some paint application. I will say though, I was a little confused trying to find the exact colors that our Yongary kind of is, because in a lot of the posters, he's kind of a greenish color. In the film, he looks a lot more gray and obviously brown on the plates and stuff. So I went with the more screen accurate paint job. I considered going more with the movie poster version, but I like the grayish coloration for him. I think he looked pretty nice, and I was definitely happy with the way it turned out as far as the final product goes here. Tried to highlight that incredible skin texture that is sculpted throughout with really nice varying tones of color and kind of like some nice brownish tones I've allowed to kind of creep through a lot of the, cracks and crevices in the skin texture to kind of help to add a little element of realism, I think, potentially to the figure. And again, just add different tones of color throughout. And once you actually add some paintwork to it, add some color to it, the model really comes to life and just immediately becomes incredible, even more so than it already was, which is pretty impressive to say. But it's so awesome actually having an opportunity to look at some of DopePope's work here, again, fully painted now, and you can see how cool the inside of the mouth looks and everything once it's painted. So definitely a phenomenal model. If you have the opportunity to get one of these Yongaries, I really recommend it. If you are a Kaiju fan, like, this is one of the most, I would say, obscure Kaiju that you're going to find when it comes to a model. You really need to jump on the opportunity, grab yourself one of these, because this thing is awesome. As far as the size goes for our Yongary, from the horn on his snout to the tail, you are looking at a little over 7 inches, maybe like 7 1/8, or around the 18 centimeter range now. Of course, that's due to the fact that the tail curves up in classic old school Kaiju man in a suit fashion, but as far as a height goes, and that's where our good bit of size is going to come from, you are looking at just shy of about 6.5 inches, or a little over 16 centimeters, maybe closing in on 16.5, but not quite. For a size comparison, there is our Yongary from DopePope next to Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. So you can definitely get a pretty good idea of the fact that it is quite nicely sized. Honestly, it's a very, very similar size to the Bandai Godzilla figures. If you happen to have any of those figures are pretty much classics at this point, as they've been around for a very long time, and they are beautiful Godzilla figures. So if you happen to have any of those, you'll probably have a pretty good idea as far as the size of this Yongary right here. And then for another size comparison, even though it's not out of the package, here is one of the Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong Mechagodzilla figures here next to our Yongary. And you can see if that Mechagodzilla were out of the packaging, they would be a very similar size. So that definitely should help to show you roughly of the size, again, of this Yongary, and how much incredible sculpt and detail it packs for the size. And just in case you are still not quite familiar with the size, here are two more of the Mattel Jurassic World figures, as we have a Dilophosaurus and a Velociraptor, again next to our Yongary from DopePope, showing you that it doesn't sport a massive size, but as far as a kaiju like this, I feel like it's a perfect size. So this DopePope Yongary model is honestly amazing. Like, I can't even begin to express my excitement over this, because Yongary is definitely a giant monster that I would have never expected to have the pleasure of owning a model of, but DopePope creates some pretty darn awesome, really quite obscure kaiju, and yet again, that's exactly what we have here with Yongary. And it is a film that, as a child, I became familiar with pretty quickly, but never really became a huge fan of until I started to reach adulthood, because as a child, although I was obsessed with pretty much every giant monster, I was really obsessed with Godzilla, so everything, you know, outside of Godzilla seemed like a step down. But, you know, as I got older and became more aware of the fact that I can appreciate kaiju of all kind, I really started to dig Yongary and became more and more of a fan of Yongary, both the incredibly cheesy but yet quite awesome film and the monster itself. And the design that they came up with was really cool, and I love the fact that it has elements of so many different creatures. Again, it looks so much like Godzilla, first of all, but it also has like that kind of almost like Stegosaurus like plates running down the back. We also have like Stegosaurus tail spikes out there, but yet we've also got a horn on the nose. We have really cool fangs that are almost like Gamera like on the jaws. So there's like a good amount of different creatures all kind of combined into one for Yongary, and Yongary does look really cool. Again, definitely a very neat looking but very similar to Godzilla kaiju. And again, DopePope really did take this idea of creating a Yongary model and knock it straight out of the park, because honestly, this thing is as perfect as it gets to the appearance of Yongary. And once I went to go paint this, of course, I had to kind of revisit the film for a little bit, because it's been a little while since I watched it, to get an idea as far as the coloration and everything. And it gave me a chance to really, you know, notice how good and how screen accurate the sculpt is here of DopePope's Yongary. Again, very impressive, and definitely one of the most impressive debuts on my channel that I think I could say about anyone would be this Yongary, because it's the very first model I've had the pleasure of taking a look at from DopePope, and it is unreasonably impressive. So again, if you are interested in this or anything else that DopePope is working on, and I really recommend checking him out, I will include links in the description to his Instagram account, where you can head on over there, follow him, check out all of the amazing stuff he's doing, all the different places that he's going, where you can catch him, and where you can purchase some of his models for yourself, and of course the files, like in this instance, to print yourself out an amazing Yongary. So make sure you check the links in the description, go grab yourself some of his amazing work, and make sure you follow him on Instagram, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.